G'day everyone, I'm the Red Scar, this is Red Scar Gaming. This is also the summary of my first draft with Murders at Karlov Manor. Had to think about what that set's called for a second. Yeah, and how I went the first draft, it was ultimately Abzan trying to be a bit quick on getting a big wide board presence. Sort of as you can see by the curve there, I had almost all of my creatures were 2-cost mana. And actually, it hadn't really occurred to me that I had 20 creatures and 3 non-creatures. So, yeah, I actually almost entirely relied on creatures there. But yeah, as my normal summary goes, I'll go through everything and talk a little bit about it. For familiar, at least in this particular deck, was pretty much just a 1-cost sack outlet, pretty much. I'm sure it would be better in a different deck, but I just didn't really need its disguise trigger at all. I suppose if I had the spare 5 mana, I might have done it, but yeah, it wasn't particularly good. Market Watch Phantom, I did actually get a lot of use out of. Having 2 of them certainly helped, but I got his trigger, gaining him flying quite often, which I don't know about if it won me any games, but it certainly started me off with a little bit more life than my opponent had at the time. So I think in a similar situation, I might be using him again. But yeah, we'll see what I draft next time. Sanctuary Wall I didn't get quite as much use out of as I'd hoped. Uh, like I did go from the start sort of expecting him to just hold my opponent a turn or two. The I certainly didn't get to use in this case the tap target creature ability. Then, yeah, which I suppose I should be ever so slightly disappointed in, but yeah, that's all right. Nervous Gardener, I didn't get to use her actually. Uh, I know I think I played her once, but I basically just needed a chump blocker, which was disappointing at the time. There was pretty much every game I could have used her disguise ability, but I think it was game 3, 4, 5 that my opponent used Nervous Gardener very well. So yeah, I'll go with her again, probably in a different situation though. Vitu Ghazi Inspector, I think I got a lot of good use out of because it could block a lot of what my opponent had and get away with it. And the reach certainly helped. The evidence, evidence 6-bit. I didn't get to use probably as much as I'd hoped, but I mean it's not a win con, so it helped when it needed to. Cruel Whipcracker is I still stand by it that it's a 2 mana cost 3/2 with reach. That is like pretty damn good way of spending mana. I didn't get to use the destroy target token as often as I'd probably hoped, but I mean, look, that's not the, at least in my head, that's not the reason why I took it. All right, sorry, airtight alibi, not all right. It was perfect. The I didn't get to use it probably as often as I wanted to, though it was game 6, I think, that I got to use it particularly effectively. I attacked with everything and whatever my opponent blocked, I'd play Airtight Alibi on. So it's great as a combat trick there. Uh, and yeah, I'll definitely go with it again at some stage. They went this way. I think I used just about every game actually. It was particularly useful in a 3-color deck, splashing black. So yeah, it's certainly good. Though, to what degree is it not 3 mana particularly well spent, simply because you get Investigate, for which you have to spend another 2 mana on. But in this particular deck, there's very little else at 3 mana cost anyway, so maybe it's the ideal sort of card to have in this deck, and I'm inverted commas there. And I suppose while I'm talking about they went this way, is probably the best time to mention I did only splash 4 cards that required swamps for me to play, and even Rakish Scoundrel I could get away with just playing even in a mono green deck, but yeah, I certainly didn't from my initial draft, I didn't intend to sort of rely on black. Just like if I got the opportunity, that'd be great. But yeah, I used it more than I thought I'd need to or get away with or something. And I suppose looking at the deck just as it is, I didn't actually use white as much as I probably intended to. But I mean, I'm certainly not complaining. Loxodon Eavesdropper, I stand by what I initially said with it, that it's a lot better than a lot of people thought it would be. Yeah, sure, it's not play this card therefore win, but it has its moments. It creates clues and gains vigilance and all that sort of thing. I can see why in a longer game it would be 4 mana less well spent, but like the few times that you can attack with it, it's good. In fact, I suppose just thinking of it that way a little bit, it's probably best in a deck where you require a sack outlet even. I can't think of off the top of my head what it combos with, but if you want the game to go quicker, or you at least want it to do as much damage as possible, you probably want it in a deck that doesn't mind sacking things, like even if it's just you going wide, or you've got Graveyard Matters or a way to get it back or something like that. Excuse me, that was a hiccup, by the way. Axebane Ferox, I didn't get to use quite as much as I wanted to. It was game 6, I think, that I really should have played it a turn earlier. But yeah, look, I still won that game anyway, so I shouldn't complain too much. I think I got to play it 3 times in total. Both situations it was destroy target creature essentially. Though, because of its ward, it certainly is in a good if not amazing position. I don't think the Death Touch in this particular case did particularly well, but that's alright. Rakish Scoundrel, I certainly got pretty good use out of. Its disguise ability can be a bit game winning because it's all but guaranteed a 2-for-1. And yes, you do have to pour a fair bit of mana into it, but because of how disguise works, you can do it turn 6 or something like that and still have a 2/2 blocker up for whatever reason if you need it, or sneak in that 2 extra damage. So yeah, it's a very good card, at least when you've got it going, when you've got the situation working, I mean. So I might be a little more tentative to play it in, say, like if I had more 3 mana cost creatures or something like that. But yeah, look, I'll come across that situation when I come across it. A Killer Among Us, there was a few times that I think it was only twice that I got to play it actually, but both times I got pretty good use out of it. It certainly helps me go wide. The putting 3 counters on something helped. I think, at least with this deck, A Killer Among Us helped me go wide, which is very good in that sense. Sort of wish that it went. I sort of wish there was something a bit more like that was, say, 3 mana cost, and I just got 3/1/1 tokens for this particular deck. But yeah, I'm certainly not complaining about it. Vengeful Creeper, didn't get quite as much use out of it as I probably hoped. Though in this particular case, even if you're just paying just the initial 5, like forget its disguise ability, it's a 5/5 for 5. That's certainly not bad. So yeah, I'm happy that I got that card. I think I only got to use its disguise ability once, and not to great effect, though yeah, I won't complain about it. I suppose the one thing I should note on that one, that let's say you turn 3 even, you play it, to flip it, to flip it back face up, you have to pay 6 mana, even if your opponent doesn't have an artifact or enchantment. So, in that sense, you've got to be a little bit careful disguising it. But look, I'm nitpicking here, but I suppose it's a little note worth noting. Culvert Ambusher, I got a fair bit of play out of, actually. There was... his flip ability probably wasn't terribly effective, but when it did work, it certainly worked. So I'm happy with that. And yeah, I'll draft him again. Crowd Control Warden, I didn't get as much use out of as I wanted. I probably only played it once, actually, which, yeah, at least in hindsight, wasn't the opportunity that I really wanted. I didn't get its ETB. Yeah, I didn't get its ETB at all, actually, did I? And yeah, I should really note that that's ETB or flip face up, so it's the disguising of it is certainly worth having. Yeah, but I just didn't get to use it this time, so yeah, I'll try it again next time if I get the similar opportunity. Defenestrated Phantom, I know that it's not perfect, but at least in this particular draft, I didn't have much else to spend 6 mana on, so I suppose that's a good one to go with. In this case too, it doesn't really matter if you disguise it, because like five mana for a 4/3 flying is not amazing, and 6 mana for it is certainly not amazing either. The 3 extra mana if you disguise it is not great. It's certainly not an amazing card, but I did get to use it, and I can't really think of anything else. Well, I didn't get anything else on 6 mana cost unless I'm mistaken. Izoni, I certainly got some good use out of. I think it was game 5 that the creation of spider tokens basically won me the game. The menace was helpful in that game too. Probably not the most important aspect in that particular case. I didn't get to sacrifice 4 tokens at all, but it would have been really good had I ever got the opportunity. Though in this particular draft, I didn't have many tokens that I could have sacrificed anyway. So yeah, it's you'd have to play the long game a bit, which in a little bit of a note sort of defeats the purpose of having a 5/4 menace. But I mean, it's still a good card. I'm certainly not going to complain about it much. And yeah, I'll draft her again. In fact, I think that's partly why I went black with this deck at all. Yeah, the escape tunnel certainly helped, and I'll definitely grab it again because yeah, sometimes I just needed that to get my swamp or my plains or whatever other color I needed. So yeah, I'll definitely go with that one. Now through the cards that I didn't draft, if my mouse works, Out Cold, yeah, it's pretty good, and it got used against me a few times, but I'm not splashing blue just for that. Case of Gorgon's Kiss, when it works really well, but apparently it's actually a lot harder to use than it looks like it should be. I'm sure in standard or modern or something like that, it's probably actually really good, but in a draft, not so much. Toxin Analysis, maybe I could have used that as essentially destroy target creature, because there were plenty of situations where I could have sacked a creature essentially, chump blocked with it. The Investigate would have helped too. Though what to take out, maybe Sanctuary Wall, because it wouldn't have played well on top of Sanctuary Wall. So yeah, maybe take out Sanctuary Wall for that. Repeat Offender. Sorry, there's a crow just near my window cawing out, which is annoying me slightly. But anyway, shut up, mate. Anyway, I'll get back to this. The Repeat Offender, as I think I said when I was drafting, it's a good card, but I didn't want to go too much black just to play it. I suppose in hindsight, though, I could have afforded, say, dropping Forum Familiar and or Sanctuary Wall to play it, because it would have meant that I was going green black splashing white rather than white green splashing black, which yeah, I wouldn't have got to activate its ability terribly often, but you only have to activate it a few times, and it can be a good creature, and it's a good way to spend 3 mana anyway. Unscrupulous Agent, similar story to what I was saying before, like, I didn't really want to go with it just to go, just because I was going black. I suppose if I put it in, I might have dropped Nervous Gardener, maybe. Though, yeah, Nervous Gardener is definitely a card I would generally keep. Macabre Reconstruction, I would go with that if I was a bit more mid-range. If my creatures weren't so small, then I'd probably go with that a bit more often. But yeah, Macabre Reconstruction is definitely a good card. Demand Answers, which, let's face it, we all want. And I'm not talking Magic, but anyway. Sacrificing an artifact or discarding a card, I don't think would have been particularly useful in this, and I wouldn't have gone red simply to play it. Aftermath Analyst, I did talk about grabbing it in the draft. I suppose in hindsight instead of Sanctuary Wall, though, yeah, apparently Sanctuary Wall wasn't a good card for me to draft anyway. Or Forum Familiar, yeah, it's basically these two that apparently I didn't actually want. Maybe even Defenestrated Phantom. Though, yeah, the milling 3 cards wouldn't have helped me much. I'm sure there was a situation or two that it might have, but if it was in a more mill-heavy deck, I would have gone with it. Fanatical Strength is certainly a good card to have. But I think maybe I was going a little too wide for it to be particularly useful. I'm sure there were situations that it would have been really good, though with all the cards I drafted, I was a bit on the defensive anyway, so I probably wouldn't have used it that often. I might have dropped, say, even 2 Vitu Ghazi Inspector to have them in, but yeah, they work pretty well. Slime Against Humanity, there's a little part of me that wants to build a deck just with Slime Against Humanity, but yeah, like just some lands, the rest of that. It's not great in a draft when you sort of need more than one. Bite Down on Crime. If it wasn't 4 mana, I probably would have gone with it. If it was 2 and just forget all the rest of it, just it deals damage equal to its power to target creature, that would have been great. But yeah, there's not many situations I can think of that would have been great, because there was a lot of I was about to say disfigured. What is it? Disguised creatures that have ward anyway. So I don't think it would have been as simple as pay 4 mana, destroy target creature, and Cease and Desist. I might have been able to use Cease a few times. Yeah, though. Yeah, there's nothing jumping out at me that. None of my opponents got something out of their graveyard, I think. So, yeah, I gain 2 life, draw a card is useful, but I don't think I would have relied on it. Maybe even, yeah, I don't want to say Sanctuary Wall again, but maybe even Defenestrated Phantom, or a land, even. Desist certainly wouldn't have been good, but look, if there was that one option that I came across, yeah, it would have been great. But anyway, so yeah, that's my summary of that deck. I'm overall pretty happy, but yeah, as my first, second, third, fourth, whatever draft I'm up to now, but yeah, this is the first one that I've told you about. I'm happy with how it went, though. Yeah, I've certainly got some room for improvement, and I definitely want to see Crowd Control Warden do a little better. But yeah, anyway, I'm happy with how that went. See you next time.